The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please come to the floor and take seats. All members, please report to the floor of the House. The clerk will ring the bell. All members, we're going to have the morning roll call soon. All members will please make their way to the floor of the House. All members. We're about to have the call of the roll. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. House will come to order. We're going to have a little bit of a change in our procedure here this morning. Doorkeepers, go ahead and close the doors. Close the doors. We are going to have scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag. Then I'm going to ask you to withhold from greeting the chaplain until after we do the panoramic picture. We're going to, the chair intends to, I'm sure that somewhere out on the streets that some member of this House is jogging furiously to get here and is just a little late. And so we're going to open the doors, not to let you out, but to let members who may be a little late in for the panoramic photo. We'll do that, and then we will come back in and we will, I hope you will greet our chaplain in the anteroom after we do the panoramic photo. So a little bit of a change so that we can get that photograph made this morning and move on with business. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the Majority Whip Caucus, the gentleman from the 54th District, Representative Edward Lindsey. Representative Lindsey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning. It is my great honor to introduce today my good friend and rector at our parish at All Saints Episcopal Church, the Reverend Jeffrey Hoare. And before I speak any more of him, let me first introduce his better half. Sage, if you could stand. All Saints Episcopal Church should be known as the parish of the General Assembly. We have not only me at that church, but we have my good friend, Representative Mary Margaret Oliver. We also have a representative from the Senate. Kurt Thompson also attends our parish. And Joe Wilkinson began his early years of Christian teaching and learning at All Saints Episcopal Church before he fled down to St. Simon's. Reverend Hoare has served as rector of All Saints in Atlanta since June 1998. He's a native of England. He came to America as a Morehead Scholar at the University of North Carolina in 1976. After taking an additional degree from Cambridge University, he returned to the United States and to Yale University Divinity School. He was ordained as a deacon and priest in the Diocese of North Carolina, where he served Christ Church in Raleigh, before moving on to St. Paul's Church in Alexandria, Virginia. And then we were lucky enough to get him at All Saints Episcopal Church in 1998. Jeffrey personifies the principle of religion in action. He has taken on the important and difficult issues in our society today of domestic violence, rape crisis, child abuse, homelessness, AIDS, racism, and all the other isms that may plague our society. He is an enthusiastic golfer. He puts on his bio that he is a good golfer. I'll let him try to defend that title. He lives in Atlanta, and actually he lives in Mary Margaret's district with his wife, Sage. He has 4 children, Alexander, who is also the same age as my oldest child, and they both wreaked havoc in our church for a number of years together. In addition to Alexander, he also has daughters Joanna, Ruthie, and Allison. Please welcome my good friend and rector, Reverend Jeffrey Hoare.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Edward. Mr. Speaker and honourable members of this House, I am grateful for this extraordinary invitation and opportunity to be with you today. I read through your list of guests and meditations from last year, and as I did so, I became aware that an Episcopalian in this role is somewhat unusual and one might even say a little exotic. And I thought it might be useful, therefore, for you to know something about us. It might be a little different this morning, because our church, our communion, was born out of very public political struggle. And we keep that tradition up and keep our struggles pretty public. And I have great sympathy for you in your work. But through it all, we seek a greater and deeper sense of what we have in common through common prayer and seeking for the common good. The Episcopal Church, for those of you who don't know, is part of something called the Anglican Communion, a communion of national churches, descended in one way or another from the Church of England and in communion with the Archbishop of Canterbury. And the Church of England came into being separated from the Roman Catholic Church in the Reformation over issues that were at least as much political as they were theological. Its Christianity had arrived in the British Isles some time before the Roman missionaries arrived, but by the time Roman ways had become predominant in England, there were lots of issues of power and empire and nation. Sometimes said the Church of England came into being because of Henry VIII's desire for a divorce. And there is, of course, some truth to that, but the reality is much more complex. Had to do with theological changes sweeping through Europe, national identity, international allegiances, and so on. And in time, the religious life of England, a consensus emerged to be a conscious effort to keep people of differing religious, theological, and political viewpoints under one tent in a single church. So to America, the Episcopal Church, first church to take shape outside the British Isles. We were organized following the American Revolution. And in time, a man called Samuel Seabury was shipped off to England to see if they could make him a bishop. And there was this trifling inconvenience that he could not, given the results of the revolution, swear allegiance to the crown. And so they said they wouldn't make him a bishop. Where could he get consecrated a bishop? Well, he set off to Scotland, because in Scotland, the Church of Scotland is Presbyterian. The Anglicans in Scotland are called the Episcopal Church, the Scottish Episcopal Church. And they agreed to consecrate him, provided we took the name Episcopal and used the Scottish Book of Common Prayer. And so back to the reason I share this history with you. We were born of political realities and important divisions of various kinds, and yet tried to keep a discipline of common prayer. We have very public disagreements, but at best we continue to practice praying in common, recognizing that we are all in need, every one of us in need of God's transforming grace. And in the end, being related matters a great deal more than being right. We pray together for the common good, aware that we might disagree on how to effect that good, but following Scripture in always seeking to bear in mind the needs of those most likely to be marginalized by those in power, the widow, the orphan, the wayfarer, the stranger, and their equivalents in our own day and time. And so it's in part because of this history of striving for common prayer through political divisions that I'm privileged to serve, as we heard, as pastor for members of both houses of this legislature and both sides of the aisle, who come together regularly, weekly, to pray for the common good. So in thanksgiving for this work and for the important work that you do, I will offer a prayer for you and for your work that's been offered more or less in its current form for more than 350 years. Originally a prayer for Parliament in 1662, amended to be a prayer for Congress in the American revision of 1789, with state legislatures being included explicitly in the 1928 revision and retaining that form to our own day. So if you will join me, let us pray. O God, the fountain of wisdom, whose will is good and gracious, and whose law is truth, we beseech you so to guide and bless our senators and representatives in the legislature of this state, that they may enact such laws as shall please you, to the glory of your name and the welfare of all this people, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. We'll now pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm going to ask the doorkeepers to unlock the doors. I hope members will not use that as an exit, but an entrance only. If I could have your attention for just a moment. We earlier today administered the oath of office to the latest member of the House of Representatives, and I'm honored now to introduce to this body the new member of the Georgia House from District 21 in Cherokee County, Representative Scott Turner. Representative Turner. All right, the chair is going to recognize George Pearl, who's going to give you some instructions and information about the panoramic picture we're about to do. I'd ask if you haven't cleaned off your desk to be doing that while he is talking to you. George, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I see some new faces. I know that I recognize a lot of you that have been here before for my panoramic group photos. I'm George Pearl with Atlanta Panorama. A lot of you lawyers out there know me as Atlanta Legal Photo Services and board certified evidence photographer. I do that too. But our division today is the panoramic division, and what we're attempting to do is to make a panoramic picture like this. This room is in a horseshoe fashion, and everyone's sitting around in a circle, and it's just perfect for a panoramic picture. The actual way this is taken is for the camera to rotate around while the picture is being made. And what you guys need to do is to sit still. First of all, you need to do what the speaker said, to clean off your desk. Take all those Coke cans and bottles and all that stuff, Larry, off your desk. The milk carton has to go. All this stuff will show up in this picture, and it'll look like you've trashed your desk. Okay. Now, for the photo, just have your hands on the desk. Put them on the desk, cup them, or put them down on your waist or whatever. Now, I'm going to turn on an extremely bright light, and we're going to shine it in your face, and we're going to have some lights on in the back. My lovely wife, Claudia, is helping us today. She's up in the balcony. Claudia, please turn on the floodlights for the back. We're going to light up the back of the room, and the other side. Okay, as the camera rotates around, the exposures are rather long, so don't be talking to your buddy or making any faces or anything like that, because then you'll look like a cartoon and it won't be good. This is a rather historic photo. I think Doug Teeper is no longer with us. We don't want you running around and trying to be in the picture 2 times, because it's a long standard procedure that if somebody does that in my panoramic photo and they want a photo, then they're going to have to pay double for being in the picture twice. So don't do that. All right, let me do a little housekeeping. Oh, before I get through, we offer these as plain photos, laminated photos, or framed, and I will have a display of these photos that I take today. The picture that I take today will be on display in this little anteroom over here in a few days. I'll have it on display for you, along with order boxes that you can, and order forms. You can fill out an order, and we'll frame it and everything and bring it to your office. We deliver, okay? So that's how that's done. Now let me do a little cleaning up around here, and we'll take the picture.
Chair is going to ask the House to come to order for a moment. Members, please take their seats. The chair learned a few minutes ago of the passing of a former member of the General Assembly, former Senator Jim Tysinger from DeKalb County. When I came to this building in 1993, I had the great fortune of serving for 6 years with Jim Tysinger. There's a whole lot one could say about Jim, but I just want to say that I truly don't know of a finer public servant who brought greater credit to the General Assembly and served with more honor than did Jim Tysinger. They don't make public servants like Senator Tysinger very much anymore, and I feel especially fortunate that I had the opportunity to serve with someone of his distinction, and he was a true statesman. I don't have any information about services. I'm sure much more will be said about Jim Tysinger in the coming days, but I wanted to share that sad news with you. And I'm going to ask the members of this body to please stand for a moment of silence to honor the life and service of Senator Jim Tysinger. Thank you very much. Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, Chairman Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Sims, the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. O'Neill, the 146, moves the following be established order of business during the first part of the period of unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading of reference to bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, morning orders, rules, calendar, privilege resolutions, through the motion establishing the order of business for this legislative day.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 286 by Representative Hardin, 148th bill to be entitled Act Restructuring City of Hawkinsville, Pulaski County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 287 by Representative Hatchett, the 150th bill to be entitled Act to reassign Division of Archives and History, Secretary of State, the Board of Regents.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 288 by Representative Nye, the 130th bill to be entitled Act amending Title 48 relating to estate tax.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 289 by Representative Kelly, the 16th bill to be entitled Act amending Title 11 relating to subject matter definition of fund transfer.
Judiciary.
House Bill 290 by Representative Dempsey, 13th. The bill being entitled Act, entitled 34, General Provisions, Labor and Industrial Relations.
Human Relations and Aging.
House Bill 291, Representative Knight, 130th. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 43, relating to professions and business.
Judiciary.
House Bill 292, by Representative Battles, 15th. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 47, Magistrates Retirement Fund.
Retirement.
House Bill 293, by Representative Rogers, 29th. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 20, Tuition Equalization Grants, Private Colleges.
Higher Education.
House Bill 294, by Representative Caldwell, the 131st. Bill to be entitled Act, Homestead Exemption, Lamar County School Taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 295, by Representative Battles, 15th. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 48, relating to revenue taxation.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 296, by Representative Powell, 32nd. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 40, relating to motor vehicles and traffic.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 297, by Representative Buckner, 137th. The bill to be entitled Act relating to state wildflower.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 298 by Representative Dickey, the 140th. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 2, relating to agricultural commodities promotion.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 299 by Representative Watson, 172nd. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 48, relating to tax returns.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 300 by Representative Mayo of the 84th. The bill to be entitled Act relating to definitions, ad valorem taxation of property.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 301 by Representative Weldon, 3rd. The bill to be entitled Act, entitled 43, licensure regulation practices of electrical contracting.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 302 by Representative Radical, the 4th. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 16, relating to controlled substances.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 303 by Representative Gardner, 57th. The bill to be entitled Act, entitled 16, relating to dangerous instrumentalities.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 304 by Representative McCall, 33rd. The bill to be entitled Act relating to Freeport exemption.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 305 by Representative Hughley, the 136th. The bill to be entitled Act to enact the End the Cyberbullying Act.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 306 by Representative Waits of the 60th. Bill to be entitled Act establish Piedmont Altamaha Railroad.
Transportation.
House Bill 307 by Representative Peake, the 141st. Bill to be entitled Act, entitled 48, imposition rate collection assessment income taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 308 by Representative Peake of the 141st, a bill to be entitled Act relating to tax credits, rehabilitation, historic structures.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 309 by Representative Harbin, 122nd, a bill to be entitled Act relating to insurance coverage for autism.
Insurance.
House Resolution 272 by Representative Epps, 144th, resolution on the life of Bubba Nobles Jr. and dedicating a bridge in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 273 by Representative Cook, the 18th, a resolution requesting the United States Congress to repeal the 17th Amendment.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 274 by Representative Smith, 134th, a resolution requesting the Department of Army consider socio-economic impacts.
Defense and Veterans Affairs.
House Resolution 275 by Representative Jones, 47th, a resolution proposed amendment Constitution provide that recreation of previous listed counting for ratification or rejection.
Governmental Affairs.
House Resolution 276 by Representative Geising, the 48th, resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution to provide recreation of previous
Governmental Affairs.
House Resolution 277 by Representative Martin, the 49th, resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution, recreation of county ratification or rejection.
Governmental Affairs.
House Resolution 278 by Representative Riley of the 50th, resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution to provide for recreation of previous
Governmental Affairs.
House Resolution 279 by Representative Willard of the 51st, resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution, recreation of previous existing county.
Governmental Affairs.
House Resolution 280 by Representative Jones, 53rd, resolution urging the governor to expand Medicaid coverage.
Health and Human Services.
House Resolution 281 by Representative Roberts, 155th, resolution providing Tift County be named in honor of the late Henry Harding Tift.
Governmental Affairs.
Senate bills. Senate Bill 65 by Senator Utterman, the 45th. Bill to be entitled Act Title 37 relating to mental health.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 66 by Senator Stone, 23rd. A bill to be entitled Act Title 15 relating to courts.
Judiciary.
Through the first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 268 by Representative Hardin of the 148th, the bill relating to dealers and agricultural products. HB 269 by Representative Jones of the 53rd, a bill relating to insurance. HB 270 by Representative Weldon of the 3rd, a bill relating to general provisions regarding the liability of owners and occupiers of land. HB 271 by Representative Neal of the 2nd, a bill relating to review of individuals' criminal history record information, definitions, and privacy considerations. HB 272 by Representative Peake of the 141st, a bill relating to income tax credit for certain qualified investments for a limited period of time. HB 273 by Representative Randall of the 142nd, a bill to amend an act establishing the State Court of Bibb County. HB 274 by Representative Burns of the 159th, a bill relating to licenses, permits, and stamps for hunting, trapping, and fishing. HB 275 by Representative Bentley of the 139th, a bill relating to verification of lawful presence within the United States. HB 276 by Representative Nimmer of the 178th, a bill relating to hazardous site response. HB 277 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to repeal an act providing that all vehicles shall be registered and licensed to operate in Randolph County during the 4-month non-staggered registration. HB 278 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act reincorporating the city of Arlington in the county of Calhoun and Early, state of Georgia. HB 279 by Representative Rogers of the 10th, a bill relating to state health and planning and development. HB 280 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to Georgia State Board of Pharmacy. HB 281 by Representative Carson of the 46th, a bill to amend an act creating the Cobb County Commission on Children and Youth. HB 282 by Representative Hamilton of the 24th, a bill to enact the Municipal Broadband Investment Act. HB 283 by Representative Coleman of the 97th, a bill relating to education. HB 284 by Representative Pruitt of the 149th, a bill relating to miscellaneous provisions under the Equality Basic Education Act. HB 285 by Representative Peake of the 141st, a bill relating to the Seed Capital Fund. HR 229 by Representative Epps of the 144th, resolution recognizing Mr. William E. Billy Hubbard and dedicating 2 bridges in his honor. 3 second readers.
Good job. Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Cooper, 43rd, Chairman Committee on Health and Human Services, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Health and Human Services in consideration following bills. House Truck may report the same back to the House following recommendation. House Bill 178, 208 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 209 do pass. Respectively submitted. Representative Cooper, Chair. Representative Chanel, the 120th, Chairman Committee on Ways and Means, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Ways and Means has considered the following bill. House Truck may report the same back to the House following recommendation. House Bill 80 do pass by committee substitute. Respectively submitted. Representative Chanel, Chair. Through the committee reports.
House will be at order. We're going to introduce the doctor of the day, and for that purpose, the chair recognizes the chair of the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, Chairman Moran Stevens, to introduce the doctor of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I hope you'll help me welcome today Dr. Thaddeus Lynn as board certified in family medicine. He received his undergraduate degree from Morehouse College and earned his medical degree from Ohio State University and in public health in Columbus, Ohio. Dr. Lynn conducted his internal medicine at Christ Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio, and anesthesiology residency at George Washington Hospital in Washington, D.C. Dr. Lynn is a member of the American Academy of Family Physicians and the Atlanta Medical Association. Ladies and gentlemen, would you help me welcome Dr. Thaddeus Lynn? Thank you. Yes, sir. Please.
Welcome, Dr. Lynn.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Good morning. I am Dr. Thaddeus K. Lynn of Paces Ferry Medical Group, located in the Buckhead area of Atlanta, Georgia. At this time, I would like to thank the House legislators for the opportunity to serve as Doctor of the Day. I also extend a hearty thank you for your hard work and unselfish service to our great state of Georgia. I stand here today to affirm that the physicians of Georgia care about our patients and also appreciate the efforts of our state legislature to ensure that a system of quality health care in Georgia is preserved and strengthened. I stand here today to affirm that I wish to play a direct role in assisting you in removing the walls of health disparities between mankind and wellness by means of excellent preventative care, because nothing on this earth should be more valuable to all of us than our good health and wellness. We can have fame and fortune, but what good is any of it if we do not have good health and wellness through preventative care? Thank you so very much.
Okay, we're going on to morning orders. We're going on to morning orders. If you have signed up for a morning order, Chair's going to ask you to limit your remarks to no more than 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And make your way to the front. Chair recognizes Chairman Benton for a morning order. House will be at order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to call the House's attention to a very famous part of Georgia history. Today, Georgia celebrates its 280th birthday. On this day in 1733, first settlers of Georgia landed at a little place that we call Savannah. It was the idea of General James Oglethorpe. He proposed the idea to King George II, and in 1732 a charter was granted to the trustees. The colony was to be named Georgia in honor of the king. The original boundaries were from the Savannah River on the north to the Altamaha River on the south, and from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. The reasons for starting the colony of Georgia were stated in the charter. It was to be a home for the relief of poor subjects. It was to be an economic development. It was to provide religious freedom for European Protestants, and it was to be a defensive barrier for South Carolina. Of those reasons, it was only a success in providing a defensive barrier for South Carolina and religious freedom for European Protestants. Two groups that were not allowed to come to Georgia in the beginning were Catholics and slaves, and two occupations not allowed to come were liquor dealers and lawyers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Somebody dropped the ball along the way, I think. Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pleasure for me to come down and recognize a group of fine middle school students from Dallas, Georgia. We have McClure Middle School with us today, about 40 students and their teachers. If y'all rise, stand up in the balcony, let this group recognize you. They're here for FBLA and FCCLA Day. Thank y'all for being here.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think all of us are concerned about the future, and I've got some future leaders with us here today. If you would, please join in welcoming the White County Youth Leadership Group all the way from North Georgia. They're the future of the state, and we're glad to have them here. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Calvin Hill. Chairman Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning, I am getting ready to introduce a resolution and accompanying bill that will no longer allow anybody that has not filed nor paid for their income taxes, state, local, or county, to serve in any elected public official here in the state of Georgia. Anybody that would like to sign under the resolution and empowering bill, I'll have it up front. Thank you.
I hope follow the instructions so we don't disrupt the work of the chamber while you're coming down to sign. Chair recognizes the Chairman of the Rules Committee, Chairman Meadows, Chairman Dixon, and Representative Jaspers for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it is our great pleasure to recognize a group from Murray County. If y'all would, please, this is Murray County leadership up here on the back right. They're waving at you. Would y'all please give them a house welcome? Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Bruce Williamson for a morning order. Representative Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today it's my honor to welcome again some future leaders of the state of Georgia and the United States of America. It's Girl Scout Troop 13601 from Walton County, meeting at the Monroe United First Methodist Church. Young ladies, if you'll stand along with your parents, I'd like to welcome you to the Georgia House of Representatives. Additionally, ladies and gentlemen, members of the House, I would like to make everyone aware that the Capitol Commission Bible Study is meeting today for lunch down in the basement, room number 123. This Bible study is open to not only members, but anybody working in and around the Capitol. I'd encourage you to go get some spiritual nourishment along with some physical nourishment because they are providing a free lunch. See you at 123 down in the basement at noon.
Chair recognizes Representative Ernest Smith and Representative Mabra for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Jack Roosevelt Robinson. You might know me as Jackie Robinson. I was born in Cairo, Georgia. I was the first African American to play in Major League Baseball in the modern era. I could talk about how great of an athlete I was. I could talk about the home runs I hit and the bases I stole. But I prefer to tell you about a game day in Cincinnati, Ohio, where the fans were so ruthless that they threw things at me as I walked on the field, that they called me racial slurs as I stepped out and warmed up. They called me everything they could except a child of God. As I put my head down and I thought I was hopeless, my friend and my teammate, Pee Wee Reese, came over and embraced me and put his arm around my shoulders. And he stared Cincinnati in her eye. And to this day, I say he stared America in her eye. And on that great day when I was inducted to Baseball Hall of Fame, and I gave my induction speech in Cooperstown, New York, I looked out, barely able to see, and I saw my friend, my teammate, and I said, "Pee-wee, is that you? Come on up here, man." And in the same manner, I put my arm around Pee-wee Reese. This is a moment in Black history. Thank you.
House will be in order. Chair recognizes for an invite resolution Representative Coomer. Representative Coomer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first read about Dr. Keith Jeffords in an alumni magazine article for Lee University. He and I are both graduates of Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee. And I'll share his story with you in just a moment. I want to also ask you to make welcome the folks he's brought with him today. His mother, Nelia Jeffords, is with him, as well as his cousin, Letha Black, who is the wife of Representative Ellis Black. His friends Jane and Dr. Steve Dorman. Dr. Dorman is the president of Georgia College and State University, and also his friend Dennis Watkins, General Counsel for the Church of God in Cleveland, Tennessee. Last year, Dr. Jeffords, who is a plastic surgeon with a center in Cobb County, was working in his office, and a man burst in, bleeding profusely from his arm, and essentially fell in the floor of the doctor's office with no explanation. Dr. Jeffords' training and experience kicked in as he and members of his staff and even patients in the office began to work to help save the man's life and limb. And ultimately, Mr. Huaracha, who had nearly severed his arm in a stone grinder, was saved both his life and his limb. And while we're here to honor Dr. Jeffords, I'd also like to recognize the folks from his office who were there to help that day, who are seated in the gallery. The folks from Dr. Jeffords' office, if you could stand and let us recognize you. Thank you. Thank you. And we're also very happy to be able to welcome Dr. Jeffords' emergency patient, Mr. Philip Huaracha, who's also in the gallery. Would you stand, please? Thank you. Please join me in welcoming and commending Dr. Keith Jeffords.
Chair overlooked one other morning order. Recognize at this time Representative Bubber Epps for a morning order. Representative Epps.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I would ask you to join me this morning in welcoming to our chamber another outstanding group of young ladies from Bleckley County. It's Girl Scout Troop 60649. This is in our gallery along with their scout leaders. We welcome you to our house and thank you for being with us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes for an invite resolution Representative Buckner. Representative Buckner for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today is a special day. It is Girl Scout Day at the Capitol.
They know what that
I know a lot of you are very happy. If you've looked around your desk, you may have found a special treat from the Girl Scouts, so enjoy your Girl Scout cookies. I'd like, at this point in time, I guess, to ask Mr. Clerk to read the caption of the resolution, please.
House Resolution 157 by Representative Buckner of the 137th and many others. The General Assembly of Georgia, by the way of the House of Representatives, does hereby declare today, February 12, 2013, as Girl Scout Day at the State Capitol. Members of this body applaud the commitment of Girl Scouting is made in support of leadership, development of girls in the state of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Any of our state representatives that are Girl Scouts, you may want to come down so that we can make a picture in just a moment. And while you are doing that, I would like to introduce the ladies that are with me today. We have Anna Fraker, who is a Girl Scout. We have Hannah Murray. We also have board member for Girl Scouts of Historic Georgia, Myra Blackman. And we have the CEO for Girl Scouts of Historic Georgia, Margaret Skeen, who will say just a few words to us.
Thank you, and ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely fitting that today we begin the 2nd century of Girl Scouting here, where Girl Scouting began. It was a vision of one woman, a native Savannian, Juliet Gordon Lowe. She saw the potential for leadership in every girl. And as you enjoy those delicious cookies, and I certainly know they're delicious, look at our new box. Look at the skills that girls learn. Look at the badges about entrepreneurship and business. These are our future businesswomen, future legislators, future everything right here. So please make the girls welcome. Please ask them questions about what they're learning. And thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you.
Explorer.
All right, we're going on to the rules calendar. We're going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 101. House Bill 101.
House Bill 101 by Representative Epps, the 144th, a bill to be entitled Act Amendment Code Section 262370 relating to definitions relative to food service establishments so as to exclude certain events held by nonprofit organizations from the definition of food service establishment. To amend Code Section 262391 relating to permits for nonprofit food sales and food service at events so as to allow counties or municipalities to delegate permitting authority to the local Board of Health. The bill having been before the House Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, the committee recommends the bill do pass. The bill is being read today for its third time.
Representative Epps on the floor. He was here doing a morning order literally seconds ago. Representative Epps. There it comes. I thought you were still on the floor. Chair recognizes Representative Bubber Epps to present the bill. Representative Epps.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fellow colleagues, I bring before you today House Bill 101. This bill applies only to food service establishments. It's a collaborative effort that was brought by the Department of Public Health, which is the agency responsible for enforcement of food service establishments. And it's just refining the definition relative to food establishment or food service establishments. This bill simply carves out a large exemption from the permitting requirements for these establishments. You know, under current law, food service establishments at fairs or festivals that are approved by the state are nonprofits and last 120 hours or less are exempt from permitting and inspections. Simply stated, this bill will allow a food service establishment operating at any event, not just fairs or festivals, to be exempt so long as it still meets the sponsorship requirement and the 120-hour or less requirement. Basically, what we do here is short-term events put on by nonprofit organizations won't have to go through the expensive and enduring permitting requirement process. Section 2 of the bill deals with the availability and allowing a local governmental entity can issue a permit, or it can delegate authority for permitting to their county boards of health. So it's just expanding the definition to include any event that meets the sponsorship requirement, and then local governmental entities can permit or delegate that authority. And Mr. Speaker, I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
You don't appear to have any questions.
We ask for your favorable consideration, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 101 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 101. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 4. House Resolution 4.
House Resolution 4 by Representative Geisinger, the 48th, a resolution proposing a settlement of the boundary dispute between the state of Georgia and the state of Tennessee and for other purposes. The resolution had been for the House Committee on Judiciary. The committee recommends the resolution do pass. The resolution is being read this day for its third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Geisinger to present the resolution. Representative Geisinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This must be a day of history. We had a chaplain this morning that was giving us the history of the Episcopal Church. And we're going to do a little bit more. House Resolution 4 is the first step toward solving our water problems in Georgia. Now, to give you a little quick history, in 1802, Georgia seceded its western territory. If you recall, Georgia ran all the way to the Mississippi River. And it was called, when they seceded it, it was called the Mississippi Territory. When we did that, we agreed to the fact that the boundary line would be from West Point, Georgia, south along the western bank of the Chattahoochee River, and north from West Point to the Tennessee River on its northern bank at a place called Nickajack. Many of you going to Nashville have passed over it or alongside it. All right, let's fast forward to 1818. The settlers were settling in that area. They wanted to know where they lived. The governor of Georgia, along with the governor of Tennessee, went ahead and commissioned surveyors to put the mark at the 35th parallel north on the northern bank of the Tennessee River. Now, you're going to read that they were given faulty equipment, whatever. I've got two theories. I can't prove them. You can't disprove them. At the time, the local Indians were not happy with the settlers. Also, if you've got something that says northern bank of the Tennessee River, why would you put the mark a mile south of where it belongs on the southern bank? It probably was at flood stage, but then only history will tell. So since that time, we as a state have never agreed to the fact that it wasn't, the mark shouldn't be at the 35th parallel north. Now, it's been 195 years since that mistake was made. We've made about a dozen attempts to correct this. with no solution. So what we have today is we have people who have lived for 195 years in a disputed area that is 68 square miles. Georgia has never ratified anything other than the 35th parallel north. TVA did a study in 2004 that said if you took 1 billion gallons out of the Tennessee River at Nickajack and gave North Georgia 264 million, Birmingham 180 million, and the Tennessee Tom Bigby Waterway 600 million, that it would basically make have little or no effect on the river itself. So you say, well, gee, they must have a lot of water. They do. The Tennessee River has 24 billion gallons a day at Nickajack. That's 15 times more than the Chattahoochee River at Beaufort Dam. So they're sitting there flush with water. And you say, okay, but why? We dump, as a state, through 3 of our lakes in North Georgia, 1.6 billion gallons a day into the Tennessee River. Basically our water, at least it was when it was on our land. We have never given up our riparian water rights at that mark on the Tennessee River. And all this legislation does is comes and takes 1.5 square miles, puts the mark where it belongs at the 35th parallel north, and says to Tennessee, okay, you've got about 40,000 people who live in this disputed area. We'll give you 66.5 square miles and take 1.5 square miles with the mark in the middle of the Tennessee River. And it will be the first step toward supplying the necessary water for Georgia and especially the entire Southeast to progress and move forward. It will benefit the Chattahoochee, and it will benefit Alabama and Florida. It's just a matter of taking the first step. Mr. Speaker, if there are no questions, I will yield the floor.
You don't appear to have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Not in this Capitol, anyway. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of House Resolution 4 will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the adoption of House Resolution 4. The ayes are 171, the nays are 2. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 25. Senate Bill 25.
Senate Bill 25 by Senator Staten of the 18th. Bill will be entitled Act Amendment to provide for the restructuring government of the City of Macon, City of Payne City, and Bibb County so as to provide for the nonpartisan elections of mayor and commissioners. Bill has been from the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. Committee recommends the bill do pass. The bill is being read today for its third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Peake to present the bill. Representative Peake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to discuss Senate Bill 25. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, since all four of the bills I'm presenting contain basically the same substance, I'd like to address all four bills at the same time. I know we have separate votes.
You have that right. They will be voted on separately.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring before you four bills that will make the elections in the newly consolidated Macon-Bibb government nonpartisan rather than partisan. The positions in this bill, Senate Bill 25, would be the mayor and the commissioners. The next bill would be the Board of Education. The bill after that will be the Macon Water Authority, and the final bill, depending on the order called, will be municipal judge, magistrate judge, probate judge, and the coroner. Let me just give a couple of facts about our particular situation and circumstance in Macon and Bibb County. First, these bills passed, all four passed as local bills in the Senate. But per our House Rule number 50, any bill changing partisan elections to nonpartisan elections have to be treated as a general bill. So just to be clear, just to be very clear, these bills only affect Macon and Bibb County and do not affect any other county, any other city, or any other community in the entire state. Secondly, these bills do not affect the sheriff or the DA or the tax commissioner or the clerk of Superior Court. Those positions can only be moved to nonpartisan by a statewide general bill, and again, just to emphasize, this is a local bill that affects only Macon and Bibb County. Let me also emphasize that this is not a statewide moving trend toward making countywide commissioners nonpartisan. This is unique and available only to consolidated governments in our state. Third, according to the GMA, and this is an important point, Macon has been the only city in the entire state that has partisan elections. The only city in the entire state that has partisan elections. And of the three consolidated governments our size in Georgia, which include Augusta and Richmond, Athens and Clark, and Columbus and Muskogee, all have nonpartisan elections. And let me just drive that point home, folks. Not a single other city in the state has partisan elections. Not a single other consolidated government our size in the state has partisan elections. Finally, nonpartisan elections have been requested in writing to our delegation by the Macon Telegraph Editorial Board and by a bipartisan leadership group made up of local business leaders. They asked us to have nonpartisan elections. Our delegation also received a letter last year from several of our local elected officials, including the civil court and probate judges, as well as a coroner, asking us to make the elections nonpartisan. But the final reason I'm asking for your support on these bills is that after consolidation passed last summer, the overwhelming response I received from citizens in Bibb County was that they voted for consolidation in spite of the fact that it included partisan elections, and pleaded with me and the other members of our delegation to immediately change the elections to nonpartisan. So we are doing this as a response to what our citizens have asked us in our community. So I'll be more than glad to answer some questions, Mr. Speaker. I know there's probably some discussion on this bill, and I'm more than glad to answer one or two.
You do have questions. Do you yield?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
Chair recognizes for a question Representative Geisinger to your right. He waves. Chair recognizes for a question Representative Dickey, your delegation cohort to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do, to my friendly peach farmer.
Is it not true that there are over 600 cities in our great state that have nonpartisan elections, just as what we're asking to do here in Macon?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And Macon would be the only consolidated government that would not have nonpartisan elections.
That's correct. Of the consolidated governments our size, that would be the only one that would have partisan elections if we do not make this change. Thank you for clarifying that.
Chair recognizes Chairman Sims to your left for a question.
Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir, I do.
Is this not the fact that your county commission are now going to be city commissioners? That is the way it is. They're not going, since the consolidation of your government, and that is why they can change. Is that not true?
That is correct. In state law, if you have a consolidated government, you get the benefit of being either a city or a county, and in this particular case, they are in effect council men or women. That is correct. Mr. Speaker, I know there's some folks who want to chat about this.
You do have other questions if you care to yield.
I'll take one more, sure.
Chair recognizes the minority leader of the House to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
Is it not true that the legislation that this body passed last year that permitted the consolidation of Macon-Bibb included in it a specific provision allowing for partisan elections?
That's correct, it did.
Is it not further true that the people of Bibb County voted on that legislation with that provision included therein?
That's correct, they did.
Did you consider allowing the people of Bibb County who expressed their will last year to express their will about changing to partisan elections, from partisan to nonpartisan elections, through this legislation?
There was some discussion of that, but we had such an overwhelming support or response from citizens who came to us. In fact, we did a poll ourselves that came back showing over 90% wanted nonpartisan elections in our community, and so that was the reason we felt like, as you do in any charter, you make changes to it. This was a change that we needed to make at this time.
Would you further yield?
Sure.
Can you tell us the sample size of the poll that you did as compared to the sample size of those who actually came out to vote in the election last year?
I don't know. I know it was around 600 or 700, which is a pretty good sample size in any survey that you would take in a county our size. So.
And do you know how many people voted in the election expressing their will for partisan elections?
I don't know what the final vote was. I'm sorry, I don't. I know it won with 58% of the vote. So.
And can you give a rough estimate of how many people that would represent in a county the size of Bibb?
It may have been 15,000 people, 15 to 25. I really, sorry, I just don't. I can't remember how many actually voted on the referendum vote. I don't remember.
And one final question: is it not true that by doing this, by making this change, instead of allowing votes to happen for a large consolidated county in November, which is part of what the voters were likely considering when they voted for partisan elections, this will now move elections to July only?
They will, because that's what state law requires, is that nonpartisan elections be held at the July primary date. That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I'd be more than glad to...
you have other questions, but it's up to you.
I'll be more than glad to chat with members offline if they have some other questions as well, too. But I know there's some other discussion. I know it's getting close to lunchtime, too, and Cheddar's is open for lunch today. So I'll yield the way at this time and ask for your favorable consideration for SB 25.
Gentleman has yielded the well. We have two members that have signed up to speak on the bill. The chair recognizes Representative Randall to speak on the bill. Representative Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to my colleagues here in the House, I rise this morning in opposition to Senate Bill 25. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise in opposition because in times like these, I am reminded of a biblical account that is found in Genesis 29, verses 1 through 29. Now, I'm certain that all of you have heard about it. It kind of goes like this. Jacob, y'all remember Jacob, don't you? Jacob made a gentleman's agreement with Laban. The agreement was that Jacob would work for Laban for 7 years, and in return, he would be given Rachel, his youngest daughter, to marry. Well, down in verses 16 through 18, it states, now Laban had 2 daughters. Then the older one's name was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, But Rachel was lovely in form and in beauty. This can easily be interpreted in today's language as Rachel was hot. Leah was not. Leah was cosmetically challenged. To make a long story short, at the end of the 7 years, Jacob goes to Laban and he says, I've done my time. He says, give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to lie with her. Laban threw a feast. Now, this must have been some kind of party. And Laban must have set out the finest wine, because the scripture says that when evening came, Laban took his daughter Leah and he gave her to Jacob, and Jacob lay with her. So that must have been some kind of party, because Leah wasn't the one that Jacob wanted to lie with. Instead, he wanted to lie with Rachel. And so the next morning, Jacob woke up and he went to Laban and he said to him, what's up with this? I served for Rachel, not Leah. Laban then told him, it is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. He then told him that in order to have Rachel, he would have to work for him yet another 7 years. And because of the love Jacob had for Rachel, he did so. And later, Rachel became his wife as well. If I had to label this account, it would be simply the old bait and switch. Laban baited him with something he knew Jacob wanted to get what he wanted, and that was for Jacob to work for him. However, he reneged on this agreement, this gentleman's agreement it was. You see, my fellow colleagues, it's in my opinion that Senate Bill 25 represents a modern day version of the old bait and switch on the residents of Bibb County. Less than a year ago, I, chair of the Bibb County Legislative Delegation, and unanimously with my colleagues that represent Bibb County, stood before you with a measure to consolidate our beloved city of Macon and County of Bibb. Many of you even congratulated us on our efforts to unite our community. There were many issues, some that were in favor of one thing, some that were not in favor of another. One of those major issues was partisan elections and the top law enforcement officer. We finally worked out a compromise that the measure would contain partisan elections and the sheriff would be the top law enforcement officer. You know, I was proud of that. I stood up here, I was very proud of that. I was proud that after countless hours of negotiating and some compromises, we, the Bibb County delegation, sat at the table and worked out a measure that was fair and constitutionally sound, and one that the community had been wrestling with for more than a century. The measure was on the ballot in July, and the people of Bibb County approved it at an overwhelmingly percentage of 55.5. I believe, and I think you will agree, that the citizens of Bibb County found the measure acceptable. Now here we are, less than a year later, attempting to renege, break a gentleman's agreement, and to change a major part of this historical accomplishment. Now, why should we do this? Why, in good faith, in good conscience, should we breach the public trust in this matter? The people voted on a comprehensive proposal. How dare we go against the will of the people? The authors of Senate Bill 25 will tell you that they have been contacted by their constituency, that they've done a poll. Well, I have been contacted by mine as well. And they are content with the measure that they voted on just a few months ago. So let's talk about constituents. Bibb County is roughly 156,000 people. Representative Peake represents 39,000, or roughly 25%. Representative Dickey represents 3,218, roughly 2.1%. Representative Epps represents 5,126, roughly 3.3%. So you see, there are only 2 members of this body from Bibb that represent more than 50% of the people. My question is, why not partisan elections? Do we not want to be identified as a member of a certain party? Ladies and gentlemen, I am affiliated with several organizations, and I am proud to be a member, an active member of each one of them. Just to name a few, first and foremost, I am a Christian. I'm a Christian because I believe that Jesus Christ is my personal Savior, and I'm proud of that. I'll tell anybody, I'm a Christian. I'm even a member of a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. You know why? Because I believe in service to all mankind. And last but not least, I am a Democrat, a proud Democrat, because I believe that every citizen in this nation deserves a quality education, quality health care, and an equal opportunity to achieve the American dream. In light of the fact that Bibb County is clearly a Democratic performing county, could this measure be an attempt to give the minority party more control, even if it means deceiving the citizens that they represent? There is nothing right about this. Less than a year later, we're going to change what the citizens voted on. And I don't think it's right. We are a citizen legislature, and when the citizens speak, we should listen. So I say to you all, join with me on behalf of the citizens of Macon and Bibb County, and let's vote no, not just on Senate Bill 25, but on Senate Bill 26, 30, 31. Because all of these bills seek to change the will of the people without allowing the people to have input again. It's not right, and it may be happening to Bibb today, but it can happen in your county as well. I've served in this body a long time, and we used to mind our own business. We didn't get into your business, and you didn't get into ours, and we didn't get into yours, and nobody got into anybody else's business. But now, here we are. All of you will have a vote to renege on a promise that we made to Bibb County citizens. I ask you to stand with me and vote no to Senate 25. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
You have a couple of questions. Do you yield?
I do.
I'm sorry?
I will.
Chair recognizes the minority leader to your left for a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentlelady yield?
I do.
Going back to Representative Peake's analysis, is it not true that if you take 55.5% of the voting population, 34,515 people voted in that election, so roughly 18,800 voters asked for partisan elections. Is that not correct?
Correct.
And then further, is it not true that he stated that he believed the sample size for his poll was 600 voters?
Exactly.
Can you speak to whether or not the business community, which has suddenly become very vocal about the need for nonpartisan elections, did they argue about partisan elections during the time that they were promoting this legislation?
No, I think everyone, they allowed us to take the lead on this thing, but I have heard from many of the business community, and they understand that it's not in good faith to go totally take something, a major part of this measure that we just passed, and remove it. And they are in support of, keeping it just the way it is, just like the people voted on it in July.
Final question. Is it not true that the July election to which you referenced had 34,515 voters, but the November election, which came that same year, had 65,000 voters? and so that there's a drop-off of almost 50% of the voting population between a July and a November election, which may serve to disenfranchise a large portion of your county?
I agree.
Thank you.
Have another question. Do you care to yield?
I yield.
Chair recognizes Representative Smith to your left for a question.
Thank you.
Does a lady yield?
I yield.
Thank you. Is it not true that in Augusta-Richmond County, which Representative Peake alluded to, there were primaries in July based on the same logic that's being used now for Senate Bill 25? Is that not true?
If the gentleman still states.
Is it not true also that in the July primary that there were only 23% of the population that voted in the July primary as opposed to 74% that voted at the November general election?
If the gentleman so states.
Is it also not true that in December of 2012, the Department of Justice repudiated and kicked back these partisan versus nonpartisan July primaries and made sure that Augusta-Richmond County now only votes in November general elections as opposed to the July primary elections?
I believe the gentleman's correct.
Thank you. I have no further comments.
Lady has no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield the well.
Lady has yielded the well. Chair recognizes Representative Beverly to speak to the bill. Representative Beverly.
Good morning. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Now, before Al Williams says, what's love got to do with it? I'm not talking about the love that's a secondhand emotion that Ike and Tina Turner spoke of. I'm talking about the love that Moltmann talked about when he said, love is a voluntary openness to the possibility of being affected by someone else. That I voluntarily open myself up to the possibility that I'm going to be affected by you. When I came into the Georgia legislature, I opened myself up to the possibility of being affected by Representative Peake, by Representative Epps, by Representative Randall, by Representative Dickey, by Senator Staten, by Senator Parris, and by Representative Holmes. And we had to deal with some very tough issues, issues that have been going on for about 100 years. Consolidation, do we consolidate or don't we? And it was vigorous. It was a tough, tough time. When we decided that we were going to consolidate, I signed off on a bill that we hashed out over months. It wasn't just a quick little bill, it was over months. And Nikki and I, Nikki didn't say that, she's a little bit more modest than I am in a lot of ways. But we were called everything from sellouts to Uncle Toms and everything in between because we decided to give the people a right to vote. And we love the community enough to say, you know, we're going to put ourselves on a line to say, you know, we may or may not agree with consolidation, but the people have a right to vote for their destiny. The people have a right. And less than a year later, my good friends on the other side of the aisle didn't consult with us, didn't talk to us. They baited us, they switched us, and they said to the people, you don't have a right to vote for this. We're going to tell you what's best. When all else fails, a good friend of mine said to me last night, appeal to the heavens. I appeal to you today just as a friend, as one of your colleagues. I'm asking you to vote down on this bill. Send it back to the people. Let the people decide what their destiny is for Bibb County as we move forward. Again, when all else fails, appeal to the heavens. I appeal to the better angels of your existence today. And I hope that you will vote no and give Bibb County a chance to decide its destiny. Power to the people.
You have a question, Representative, if you care to yield. Chair recognizes Representative Flood to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
I do.
Representative Beverly, isn't it true that in the years that I've been here, I've brought forward to this body a number of pieces of legislation that were deemed to be local in nature, but have been voted on by the body in a general fashion?
If the gentleman so states.
Isn't it also true that those members of this body who are not affiliated in any way, shape, form, or fashion with Bibb or County or Macon really have no understanding of what the challenges or opportunities are in your community?
The gentleman so states.
And isn't it further true that it is in the best interest of the members of this body to let local decisions about local politics be made by local politicians?
Sir.
Thank you.
You have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Chair recognizes to speak to the bill Representative Al Williams. He waives. No further speakers have signed up. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on Senate Bill 25? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. The final word goes to the chair of the committee. The chair recognizes Chairman Sims as chairman of the committee. Chairman Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. First of all, I'm going to give up most of my time to Mr. Peake, but I want to state Rule 50 to you. If you look in your rule book, please. And it says, any bill or resolution affecting the political partisanship of any elected office, state revenues, general taxation, pari-mutuel weathering, alcoholic beverages, water resources, or hazardous waste, shall not be deemed a local or special bill in this House, and it shall be treated as a general bill. That's why we're debating the bill today. I will give up. I just want to make sure everyone understands why we are debating a local resolution here. It is considered a general bill in the House. I'll give up the rest of my time to Representative Peake.
Chair recognizes for the balance of the chairman of the committee's time, Representative Peake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I won't take but just a minute or two. You know, I'm not usually very good at getting up and giving speeches without having it written. Because I get up here, I'm like many of y'all, you get nervous, worry about what you're going to say, and want to make sure you say the right thing. So there's a risk here. But let me take a moment to thank Representative Randall. She did a yeoman's job of getting the legislation, the referendum passed, and showed a lot of leadership. And so she deserves a shout out, and I'm going to give her one for doing a great job last year. It's interesting, though, that you know, let me just stress a couple things. We here are elected by the citizens to listen to what they tell us. Each of us have come to this chamber with an idea from a citizen, somebody telling us, I hope we should do that. I wish you'd go change this. And we make changes to charters every year. Many of you probably, you know, this year introducing legislation that will change your charter. And in fact, Representative Randall will be carrying a bill later that will be making changes to the charter that was passed last summer. So we are here to respond to what our citizens request of us. And that's why we are here today making the request of you to vote for this bill to move to nonpartisan elections for making a bid. And the final point, and I don't want to beat it to death, but every city in the state has nonpartisan elections. Every single city. All three of the large consolidated governments in our state, Columbus, Augusta, Athens, all have nonpartisan elections. there is logic and valid reason for having nonpartisan elections at the local level, particularly in a consolidated type government. All I'm asking is that we get in line with what is consistent and overwhelmingly consistent with the rest of our state at these local elections. I ask you to strongly urge you to vote in the affirmative for SB 25. Mr. Speaker, I yield the will.
You have a question. If you care to yield, he chooses not to yield, and he has yielded the well. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 25 will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 25. The ayes are 111, the nays are 62. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 26. Senate Bill 26.
Senate Bill 26 by Senator State in the 18th, a bill to be entitled Act provide that future elections for the office of coroner, Bibb County shall be nonpartisan elections by submission to act under the Federal Voting Rights Act of 1965. This bill having been before the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination, the committee recommends the bill to pass by committee substitute. The bill is being read today for the third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Peake to speak to the bill. Representative Peake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, we won't rehash this. Is the same legislation we've already talked about. This bill, SB 26, applies to the coroner, magistrate judge, municipal judge, and the probate judge. And I would ask, thank you for your affirmative vote on the last bill. I would ask for your affirmative vote on this bill as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Gentleman has yielded the well. There were no questions. No speakers have signed up on this measure. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on Senate Bill 26? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 26 will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. All members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 26. The ayes are 110. The nays are 62. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 30. Senate Bill 30.
Senate Bill 30 by Senator State, the 18th. Bill to be entitled Act, Amendment Act establishing the Board of Public Education, Bibb County, so as to provide for the nonpartisan election of members comprising the Board of Education. Bill having been before the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. The committee recommends the bill do pass. The bill is being read today for the third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Peake to present the bill.
Thank you again for your affirmative vote on SB 26. This bill is same substance. It relates to the Board of Education moving to nonpartisan elections. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will and ask for your affirmative vote.
You have no questions? No one has signed up to speak on the bill. I'm sorry. We did have a member that wanted to be heard on this bill. The chair recognizes Representative Al Williams to speak to Senate Bill 30. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't come under the illusion that the vote is going to change. None whatsoever. But whether or not this vote changes, it will not change the fact that wrong cannot be made right, not by a vote. And yes, we make changes all the time. But I just want you to know that I'd have a real problem if a piece of legislation in Liberty County, where I represent, is decided not by the will of the people of Liberty County, but by people who many times don't know the route to Liberty County. See, truth stamped down will rise again. Many times we talk about home rule, we resent. We talk about Washington taking away our home rule. And then we blatantly do this. I didn't want to get up. But wrong demands that you address it. Has nothing to do with anything personal. But wrong is just wrong. This is not just a general bill, it's much greater. This bill was presented in a way that the people approved, and then a few people got together and changed what the people said. That's not democracy. Come on. This bill got the wrong names on it. The name should be folk like Putin. This is a Russian bill where the people ain't got no say. That's not what this House is about. This House is the will of the people. And people did not send a few people here to represent them. They elected Al Williams to represent the 168th. And I would hope that when I do, that you have enough respect for my voters and for me to let me express the will if they have voted at the polls. Folks, you won't change your vote, but when you go home tonight, you pray to the same God I pray to. You need forgiveness.
Gentleman has yielded the will. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 30 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 30. The ayes are 108, the nays are 66. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. What's going on? House will be in order. We've got one more bill on the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 31. Senate Bill 31.
Senate Bill 31 by Senator Staten of the 18th. Bill to be entitled Act, an act known as the Macon-Bibb County Water and Sewage Authority Act, and approved May 6, 2009, to provide for nonpartisan election of members of that authority to provide for federal preclearance. This bill having been for the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. Committee recommends the bill do pass. The bill is being read today for its third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Peake to present the bill. Representative Peake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, thank you for your affirmative vote on the 3 previous votes. This last one is for same thing, moving from partisan to nonpartisan for the Macon Water Authority. And I would ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
No questions. No one had signed up to be heard. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 31 will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 31. The ayes are 114, the nays are 61. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions. If you have an announcement and you haven't signed up, now's the time. Clerk will read.
First 2 resolutions are invitation resolutions being read for the first time today. Referred to the Committee on Rules. A resolution by Representative Abrams, the 89th, recognizing and commending John Reeser, inviting him to be recognized by the House of Representatives. Resolution by Representative Jackson, 128th, commending Georgia Rural Health Association, Rural Health Day at the State Capitol, inviting GRHA members to be recognized by the House of Representatives. As aforesaid, these 2 resolutions are invitation resolutions being read for the first time today and being referred to the Committee on Rules. Following resolutions are privilege resolutions being read for the first time today for adoption. A resolution by Representative Peake, 141st, commending the National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB, in Georgia, recognizing February 13, 2013 as NFIB Georgia Small Business Day at the Capitol. Resolution by Representative Braddock of the 19th, recognizing and commending the Great American Bus Interactive Education, LLC, GABIE, and its creator, Lisa Williams. Resolution by Representative Ralston the 7th, congratulating Henry B. Neal on his 84th birthday. Resolution by Representative Glanton the 75th on the life and memory of Ted Key. Resolution by Representative Chanel of the 120th, commending a future leader, Jill Brown. There's several resolutions by Representative Chanel, the 120th, commending future leaders. They all commend these individuals for their good work. There's a resolution by Representative Rogers, the 29th, commending University System Georgia scholar Jennifer Rose Static, Valdosta State University, Academic Recognition Day 2013. As aforesaid, there are several resolutions by Representative Rogers, the 29th, Chairman of the Committee on Higher Education, commending these fine University of Georgia system outstanding scholars from different institutions within the university system, as well as Representative Chanel's resolutions for future leaders through the resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. We're still in session. I haven't heard the majority leader even make a motion yet. You may want to hear some of these announcements. Chair recognizes the Chair of the Game, Fish, and Parks Committee, Chairman Burns, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Game, Fish, and Parks will meet today in room 403 at 3 o'clock here in the Capitol. Hope you'll be present. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Rice for an announcement.
Oh, we got so much Bible study going on around here, you can hardly believe it. Tomorrow morning at 7:15, we'll be downstairs in 107 for the Legislative Fellowship. Representative Mike Blanton will be bringing a devotional tomorrow morning. If you've never heard Mike speak, you're in for a treat. Y'all come at 7:15, 107 tomorrow morning.
Chair recognizes Representative Carson for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many of you might know today is United Way Day at the Capitol. Today at the Blue Room at the Freight Depot from 5 to 7, United Way is having a reception featuring Phil Smith from the Concord Coalition to talk about the implications of the federal debt issues on people like us in state government as well as charities. That's from 5 to 7 in the Blue Room. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Chanel for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The full committee of the Ways and Means Committee will meet today at 3 o'clock in 606 CLOB. Just a friendly reminder to the authors of the bill that the bills that will be read and assigned for the first time, you or your designee needs to be at the meeting. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Buddy Harden for an announcement. Representative Harden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Resource Management Subcommittee of the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment will meet today at 2 p.m. in room 406 CLOB.
Chair recognizes Chairman Parrish for an announcement. Chairman Parrish.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you that the Health Subcommittee of Appropriations will meet this afternoon at 2 o'clock, CLOB, room 515. The agenda will be the 2014 budget. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Alan Powell for an announcement. Chairman Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the members of the House that live in the Savannah River Water Basin, if you would remember, upon adjournment, we're going to have a short meeting over in LOB 515. Please make every attempt to come if you can.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the House Insurance Committee, Chairman Smith, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This afternoon at 1:30 in room 606 CLOB, the Administrative and Licensing Subcommittee of Insurance will meet, and then tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, CLOB 606, full committee. Thank you.
If you have not had, if you have pages here today and have not been down for the photograph, we have pages that are waiting for you down at the rostrum. If you'll report down here, we will get those taken as soon as possible. Chair recognizes Chairman Dixon for an announcement. Chairman Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder that the 14th District DOT Board election will take place at 3 o'clock today in the Senate chamber.
Chair recognizes Chairman Benton for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Reminder to the members of the Human Relations and Aging Committee, we will be meeting this afternoon at 4 o'clock in room 415 CLOB.
Chair recognizes Chairman Coleman for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Education Committee, remember we're meeting today at 2 o'clock, room 506 CLOB. And members of the Academics Achievement Committee, you'll meet right after we adjourn to hear a very important bill, Title 20 bill. So 506 CLOB today.
Chair recognizes Representative Riley for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Environmental Quality Subcommittee of Natural Resources will meet today at 1 p.m. in room 406 CLOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Shaw for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to have a rural caucus meeting in the morning, so we're not meeting for lunch tomorrow. We're going to meet for breakfast at 8:45 in room 605, and our breakfast will be provided by GMA. In a short program, we also have a little item we need to vote on, so please be there in the morning. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Chuck Williams for an announcement. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A reminder to the folks from the 10th Congressional District, we have a DOT board election, 4 o'clock today, Senate Chambers, 10th Congressional District. Thank you.
Is the Transportation Chairman still on the floor? I appreciate Representative Williams making that announcement. The 9th Congressional District will have their DOT election at 2 p.m. in the Senate chamber. That's the 9th District. And the 14th Congressional District will be at 3 p.m. in the Senate chamber. So those were, make a note and be present at those this afternoon. That completes our announcements. Now, the chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move this House now adjourn until 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, February 13th, 2013.
On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House adjourn until Wednesday, February 13 at 10 o'clock a.m., all those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes clearly have it. This House will be adjourned until tomorrow at 10 a.m.